Great. So now that we have our migrations, database seeds, and table set up, let's focus more on getting the data from our models. Let's head over to our controller we set up for projects called Projects Controller, which was an app HTTP controllers project controller. And let's go ahead and import our model. So that was from app. All right, so from the app directory, project module, import the project class. Now inside our controller, we can get all the projects, right? In order to get all the projects, you would simply say projects equals project, which is this class, dot all. Now that we have this variable, we could put this variable inside our viewRender method. Now to show this, we open our projects view. So that was projects.html. Now inside this view, we just need to make sure we have the correct for loop here. So we could say for project and projects, and then we can end it. Now the syntax is very similar to Django. Jinja 2 was sort of based on the Django templating engine. And we could say project dot title, I think it was one. All right, so we can go to our project model, and we had it was name and description and manager ID. So let's do the title. Or sorry, name, and then by project.manager ID. And we'll talk more about how to get the actual user in the next tutorial. And then let's just make a break and a horizontal break and just say the project.description. And okay, so that should look good. And let's just go to our project controller real quick. Because I think there's a typo right here. So that should be a colon, not a comma. And everything looks good. So let's run our server. And let's open that up in our browser. And our route was /projects. And that's a little hard to see. Let's change it from a break here to a break there. And let's refresh. So now you have the title by the user, and we'll talk about how to get the actual user email and name and stuff like that in the next tutorial. And we have the description, and we have 50 of these. So now let's say we want to only get the projects where the user is 8 or the manager is 8. So instead there we can say where manager ID is 8, and we can get that result. So now if we check now, we should have, I guess this is the only user that has a project. Now there's a lot of stuff you can do with models, and we'll dabble a little bit in them later. But for now, we'll just go over how to get a single record. So you can create another route for this, but I'll just use this existing route. So let's just get rid of this for loop, and we'll just output the project name. And we'll change this to project, 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 and we'll just say find 8. Now when we refresh, we should see the project where the primary key is 8. And there you go. Now we may want to make this a little more dynamic. We don't want to get 8, but we want to get whatever the user types in here. So I might say project/1 or 2 or 8 again. So in order to do that, we'll open up our web routes and we'll tweak this a little bit. So we'll say project/ID, and we'll put an ID here. Now in our controller, we'll be able to get this request class, and we can just plop it in here. So we'll tell Masonite that we need the request class from the container, and instead of 8, we could say request.param ID. Now when we hit this route, we could say project/8, which is the same thing, or 10, or 12, etc., etc. Now in the next tutorial, we'll talk about relationships and how we can get this user ID to show maybe the user name and the user email. All right, I'll see you next tutorial.